Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the Lawn Fawn Fans video hop for fall. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steph Williams. I'm a paper crafter and card maker in Queensland, Australia. Today I'm going to be showing you how I made this spooky tarot card themed card. I'll add just a little snippet of the cards that I based this piece off so that you can see the look that I was trying to replicate. To get started, I'm going to show you which Lawn Fawn products I used, and this is probably one of the cards where I have used the least items to make it. So I've got my Fantastic Friends and my Fantastic Friends add-on for the banner and the stars. I'm also using my Milo's ABCs. I also use my Harold's ABCs a little bit later, and I'm using this large mini slimline stackable. That's always such a mouthful and such a funny thing to say. And with that, I've cut some black cardstock. Now what I'm doing today is a lot of embossing, so I'm going to make sure that this piece of cardstock is absolutely covered in anti-static powder. I've also popped it on a sheet of baking paper so that you can see it because it was really blending in with my craft mat. I'm just prepping all of my tools here so that I am ready to do this embossing. And I'm using the Lawn Fawn embossing pen today. It's something I've had in my craft stash for so long that I was actually worried it had dried out, but it is still looking amazing, still works perfectly. And what I'm doing with this is just making a straight line around the edges for the border on this card. And after each line I am embossing them just so that I don't bump them, smudge them, or get embossing powder anywhere I don't want on this black cardstock. Once my border is done, I then move on to the images that I'm going to place on the front of the card. So here I have my banner and my bats. These I'm going to emboss with my white embossing powder and I'm going to cut them out. You will see me use my foiling technique with these a little later, but for some reason my trial run went really well the day before, and then the day that I was doing this, it was melting them way too much. I'll show you what I mean soon. This is not, I guess, the normal way to do foiling. I don't have a foiling machine, and the foiling sheets that I have, I had purchased by accident thinking I could use them with my Cricut, which needs pressure foil sheets, not heat foil sheets, if that makes any sense. So I'm trying to use up craft materials that I otherwise would just let sit in my stash forever. And so here I am adding some little stars to my border, and I'm just going to emboss them as well. There is a lot of embossing involved with this card. I knew as soon as I decided to do this design that I would both love it and hate it. I absolutely love the look of embossed stamps. I think they are amazing. I think that even trying this technique was just another fun way to use it. But sometimes I get so sick of pulling all of my tools out for the little bit of embossing I usually do at the end of each card for my sentiment. So at least with this card it really felt like it was worth it because pretty much everything was embossed. For these trees, because I don't want those branches to go over my border, I'm just using some of that post-it note that has the stickiness along the entire back to block out the pieces that hang over the edges. I wanted everything to be contained within that border. I feel like this card was a little bit strange to make because there's no colouring in it. It is just all black and white, which I think looks really cool with Halloween coming up, but it really did feel like I was missing a really big step that I normally would have included. And while I'm doing all of this stamping, I thought that I would remind you that this is our Lawn Fawn Fans hop for fall. And just like all of our hops, this one is sponsored today by Nia from Crescent Creations. So thank you, Nia, so much for sponsoring our hop. Nia is actually part of the hop, so I hope you'll go over to her stop and leave a lovely comment on her video. To go into the draw, all we ask you to do is leave us a comment. It helps if you tell us whereabouts in the world you're from, but even just a hello would be really nice. Crescent Creations stocks Lawn Fawn and a whole bunch of other things, so make sure you go check it out. I'll leave the link in the description box below for you to see. She does only ship to certain parts of the world, so I'll make sure I leave those places in the description box as well. So back to my card, and here I am with my laminator that I have had since my childcare days, and I am wedging my black cardstock between some baking paper and my foil, and I am hoping for the best. As I said before, I trialed this the day before and it worked really well. My embossing came out super detailed, so on the right there is my white embossing powder. The left was the clear embossing powder and it didn't really take as well, but the detail was really nice. The pictures stayed super crisp, but for some reason on this day, I ran it through the machine just as many times, but it seemed to have melted things a little bit too much, and my images kind of bled and spread out, and it wasn't really the look I was going for. So I couldn't keep the bats, the spider, and the moth. I just felt like they were a little bit too melted to really work out what they were. So instead I kept them as just embossed images that I quickly redid to use in their place. So here we go, that's what it looks like with that foil. I do love that shine. And now I'm going to show you what I mean when the bats did not work. So me being the queen of failing and fixing my cards, finding a way to make them work, I knew I could fix it and it was going to be alright. Some of you might be thinking, why not just use like silver embossing powder for all of this? I don't own silver. I have like white, gold, black and glow in the dark I think is all I own for embossing powder. This would look really good with silver being embossed in a silver powder, but I thought using the foil might be a bit fun because I know you can get some really funky pattern foils and things like that. So I was hoping if this worked it might open up some more options. Not that I need any more craft supplies or to add to this wormhole of a hobby, but I thought it would just be fun to try, and it kind of did and didn't work. So take from that what you will. I actually really like how it turned out, especially once I had fixed these little critters. So here I am just gluing over the white embossed creatures over the foiled ones. And here I am adding my banner with some foam squares on the back to give it some dimension. I also did the same with the bats, as I wanted them to be the focal point of this card. Now I actually made a really big mistake with this card, and when I went to re-stamp my bats, I forgot to use that powder. So the white embossing powder didn't stick perfectly. It kind of came out a little bit patchy, and so what I'm doing is anywhere that it looks patchy, I'm running my white jelly roll pens over it, and it fills in those gaps perfectly. To make things a little bit more sparkly and fun, I'm using my clear Wink of Stella pen and I'm colouring in my little critters. I'm then going over some of those large white gold watercolour flakes with my sparkly glaze by Fawn. And once that's all done, I'm then going to add some double-sided tape to the back. I've also cut a card base from some white cardstock. And once I remove the backing to that, I adhere it to my card base, and then this card is going to be complete. I would love to know what you think of it. It's a little bit different. Do you think it was a fail with the foil, or do you like how it turned out? I'd love to know. Don't forget to hop along to the next stop. The link will be at the top of the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.